This is just one of many details that really shows you the attempt was to surprise us and overwhelm us, and apparently murder some of the people who later they said were supposedly terrorist activists or operatives. The bottom line is that it all was like a combat scene, and within the first few minutes, I went from the back of the ship to the second deck. I didn't actually get up to the top deck. When I came up to the deck below, the first Israeli commando that I came into contact was pushed over from the top deck down to the second deck, and myself and another brother immediately descended upon him, and that's the one that I ended up getting the 9mm pistol from right away. This is, a point of interest for me because I've been specifically named now as a terrorist operative, quote, terrorist operative, by the Israeli Defense Forces, and they say in their press release that I was going to Gaza to, quote, train a commando unit for Hamas. This is, laughable if it weren't so serious. The truth of the matter is that there are plenty of witnesses who saw me with that 9mm pistol, and having taken it directly off of a commando, I can assure everyone who's listening that if I was a terrorist, or even if I just intended to use that weapon, I would have ended the life of that commando right then and there. It would have been all too easy to take that thing off of safety. And since I emptied the bullets from the gun later on, about 5 minutes later, I manually took the bullets out. They were real bullets. So if I had taken that gun off of safety and pointed it at that commando, his life would have been over right then and there. But obviously that was not my intention, nor was it the intention of all of us on that boat, because if we intended to, we not only had that one commando, but we had two others. I was involved in disarming another one in which we managed to get an assault rifle off of him. We had three of them. This is one of the most important points of all if I'm going to communicate anything, and that is that there can be no doubt there are hundreds and hundreds of witnesses. We had three of their commandos completely at our mercy, totally disarmed, and we let them go. This just flies in the...
Oh dear.
Whoops, it appears that we've temporarily lost Ken at this point. Well, hopefully we'll be trying to get him back as we speak. It's interesting, I was speaking to Ken earlier on this evening and briefly yesterday, and it is an interesting point he makes, that essentially this terrorist Hamas, PLO, whatever you want to call them, organisation that was bringing cement and food aid, as far as I can see, was attacked on the high seas, the circumstances of which leaves it no other way of interpreting it from the law's point of view. It was an act of piracy. So how can they then claim that being the crew of the ship trying to...
I believe the first headline that came out after this incident was humanitarian aid workers attack Israeli special forces with sticks.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, come on, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure out that there's something wrong with that story. If the soldiers had boarded the ship peacefully, then they wouldn't have attacked armed men with sticks. The only way they're going to fight back with sticks is if they got soldiers attacking them with guns and they're fighting for their lives. And I think anyone with any common sense can see that was what was really going on. Anybody who doesn't work for the corporate media trying to push their propaganda as they do on Hard Talk and things like that. But
just think about that for a minute, people. You're talking about special forces, essentially. The Israelis are not exactly short of combat experience. Storming a ship in an orchestrated attack with all sorts of munitions, by the sounds of it. Undoubtedly, they would have been using snipers to cover the commandos dropping onto the deck. But just have a think about this for a minute. Against special forces with sticks. I mean, it's not even a fair fight to start with, let alone the fact that the Israelis are lawfully committing a criminal act. It just beggars all belief that they can claim self-defense. I mean, put it this way. If you were robbing a bank and complained that some old dear hit you with a handbag while you were in the process of holding a bank up with a gun, do you really think any sane person would have any sympathy for the bank robber? Especially not if he'd killed 9 of the people in the bank. Just have a think about it for a little while. This is what we're up against in terms of the amount of pure bullshit that's being talked about this. You can see people hitting the crew, essentially, attacking the Israelis with sticks. Now, if that is anything other than the courage of lions, I don't know what is. I don't know whether we stand any chance of getting Ken back. But if not, we'll, I believe, northeasttruth.com has the chat room up and open. So if anybody would like to propose any questions for if we get Ken back, or even just talk about the topics of tonight, specifically Gaza, because let's not forget that this is what this is all about. It seems like a long way away, people, but it could be here next week. Think about that. I don't know. There are people who would argue that Billingham Town Centre could do with the treatment of depleted uranium, but I don't want my family in the middle of it, so... Which brings me nicely on, actually, to what we can all do. I'm hoping that there's many different subgroups on North East Truth, and I hope that all those will switch over and go onto the .com site so we can keep in touch. And there's quite a few people in the Billingham area. There's enough of us to be getting our heads together, actually. There's nearly as many people in our group in Billingham as routinely attend the meetings in Newcastle. So I propose, as one of the things we need to do to get our act together, is all the groups that are area-based. We need to get our heads together and start regularly meeting, and then meeting up with the others. Because, as we say, we need to start getting our act together with this. I've been hearing this for, 2 years now? I came into this probably through TPUC, which is still doing what TPUC does. But I've been hearing how all the different sites need to get their act together and get actually joined up. Surely we can, if just be speaking and coordinating our actions. This divide and conquer stuff's working, people. We're all just sitting here doing absolutely nothing.
Right, and I think we've got our hosts back on.
Our guest tonight, for people who've just joined us, was Ken O'Keefe of the recent Gaza flotilla, ex-Marine, businessman. This is the guy who believes strongly in what he says and does what he says as well. The guy's burned his American passport, renounced his US citizenship, basically declared himself a world citizen.
I have a lot of respect for what he's doing. I mean, he's not just talking about it, he's actually out there doing it, there on the front line, like you say.
But again, I was speaking to Ken earlier on, and one of the things that's done is that for everybody like Ken there is, who's right out there on the sharp end and in the media spotlight, there needs to be 5 or 6 people behind them doing all the thousands of things. Somebody had to empty the WCs on the flotilla ship before it sailed. You know what I mean? There's a role for everybody to play, and if, I don't know about the rest of you, but if emptying the crappers is what I can do, then I'm prepared to do that. I think we're getting Ken back in the conversation here, folks. Excellent. Ken, can you hear us?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Ken. Sorry about that. We lost the connection.
We're not sure what went down. But
can you hear me?
We're back on, yes.
Yeah, we can hear you fine, mate.
We're just going to cut into a song. You know, we'll get all things figured back out, and we'll come back on and sort this out in the second half.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to North East Truth, courtesy of tnsradio.com. We're here tonight with Ken O'Keefe, who's very generously sparing us some of his downtime, let me say.
Yeah, and apologies to Ken and all the listeners about those technical difficulties we had. This is the problem when you're doing internet radio. It's all based on people's internet connections, and if anything minor happens, then it's a major thing on this end. But we're back on cooking with gas now. So just before that intermission, we were talking about what it was like, what basically happened down on the day in the flotilla. Are you still there, Ken?
Yeah, I'm here. It's a little bit difficult to hear you. I don't know if your connection is better for me, but let me know.
You're coming through loud and clear.
Okay.
Although what was interesting, I think it was within a week of the flotilla incident that you were involved with, Iran had sent a ship over to Gaza. Did you hear about that?
Yeah. Did see something about that.
Yeah, well, what it was, a lot of us, because we know about the Bilderberg's agenda, they were all planning on invading Iran next, and a few of us thought that this could have been the excuse they were looking for to attack Iran. And thankfully, Iran backed off slightly, but
do you think that Iran's flotilla thing? Well, what is your thoughts on that, Ken? Do you think it was helpful? Do you think it's everything that anybody can contribute helps, or does sometimes we need to pay nearly as much attention to the politics of appearances and whatnot as they do? Otherwise, we'll lose.
I think we need to, all of us, need to put our own personal agendas aside and really think what is the most intelligent way to achieve the goal. And I think this is actually the biggest obstacle of all. Obviously there's no chance an Iranian ship is going to get through, period. I mean, it obviously says that they want to do something, and maybe they feel compelled to do something, but realistically speaking, we know it's not going to get through. There's a Lebanese ship too that's going to be going, and I really appreciate the need for people to express themselves and do what they feel is right. And I'm not trying to discourage them from doing that, but we do know it's not going to get through. There's no way it's going to get through. The only type of ships that are going to be able to get through are going to be ones that are planned and carried out intelligently with discipline, and that is my biggest concern, is that in this rush to simply kind of capitalize on the momentum that has been built from the flotilla, that we're not thinking things through and doing it carefully, because we make a huge mistake if we think that those that we're opposing don't have within their means the capability of doing all sorts of things that can really, really, really harm our cause very, very much if we fall into the traps. I mean, I'm talking about everything from, infiltrators on the inside, planting things, to the Israelis attacking next time and killing some of their own people, and framing it as if we are the ones that did it. Because really, that's the only thing that has prevented the flotilla from being a potential disaster for us in the cause of justice, and that is that there are no dead Israelis, even though we could have killed them. But to say that they would not, the leadership would not do that, and that for us not to be aware of it and not do what we can do to ensure that that tactic will not work, is potentially a massive mistake. So we need, really, just as a matter of course, we need to check our egos at the door. We need to be really intelligent here, and we need to act in a unified, intelligent, disciplined way. So as much as I appreciate people's desire to express themselves and send ships, if we really want to achieve the goal, then we're going to have to be intelligent.
Joe, what were you doing now? Because I also saw your first interview back in 2003, the first hard talk you did, when you were talking about going, actually, I don't know if the human shield is the correct term, but that's essentially what it was, that you were going over there as in opposition to the invading Iraq, because that was all based up on false flag terror event over in America. But what did happen with that? Did you end up going to that country? And my question really is if our own people got in there to act as a human shield, do you think that our troops would fire on our own people?
Okay, you broke up for some of that, but I'm thinking you're asking me to kind of summarize what was the human shield plan and what was the thinking behind it. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Okay. Well, I stand by the strategy. Till the end of time, quite frankly. I saw what I think some of us saw back in 2002, 2003, similar to Iran. Actually, the writing was on the wall. I think an attack on Iran clearly would have happened already, except for the awareness of this plan is such that it makes it problematic. It could be politically untenable.